All right. Hey. It is an unstoppable day. You're grooving to the jazz tunes of the Unstoppable Story Show with Terrence Leftridge. It is yes, it is. I am Terrence, the Unstoppable Coach Leftridge, shaking it up a little bit, smoothing it out, trimming it out on a Tuesday evening on the Unstoppable Story Show, where we talk to ordinary people with unstoppable stories. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm going to give it a couple of minutes. We're going to swipe and share, swipe and share. Make sure people know that we are on the air. You know, if it's Tuesday night, it's the Unstoppable Stories Show. Thank you guys for joining. I know you could be so many other places on a Tuesday night, but thank you again for investing, whether it's live or whether it's in the replay, in quality programming on the Unstoppable Story Show. Hopefully, you guys are having a phenomenal week. Hopefully, you have carried over from the great weekend that we just had, Mother's Day weekend. So happy Mother's Day again to all the mothers out there, and happy Mother's Day to those who may not be mothers, but you are a mother to somebody else. I know, as being a man who is not a father, but some people look at as a father figure in their lives. I know what it's like to not be a parent, but to have an impact on the children and some adults as well. So for all you parents who are parents and you had kids loving on you this weekend, that's fabulous. For all you women who are not quite yet mothers and you are mother figures in the lives of others, happy Mother's Day to you. And to all those who have lost their mothers over the years, we our heart still goes out to you. We hope that you had far more great memories this weekend than you had sad tears over your mom not being here with you. So shout out to Pam Staples. Thank you, Staples Wards. Thank you for watching. Go ahead, swipe and share. If you are watching us live right now, go ahead and put a 1 in the feed. If you're watching us by replay, then go ahead and just put a 2 in the feed, and we'll make sure that we get your comments out there. Again, I'm going to give it a couple more seconds. I'm going to share it to a couple of people, make sure that people know that we are broadcasting live right now, and get them to hear these phenomenal guests that we have tonight. And as always, I start the show by telling people that each and every week we've got this show and the universe form together, and they have a big battle with each other. And the battle is with the universe making this show prove and live up to its name, the Unstoppable Story Show. Each and every week, there's something that is bound to happen that's going to make us, should make us stop. But no, we are true warriors. We are in the battle. We know that this show is important. If it's only important to one person, then we're here for that one person. We do it for the one here at the Unstoppable Story Show. So we don't stop. We're unstoppable. And this week was another opportunity to fight that battle again. We had a regularly scheduled guest, and actually this was the second time that I had scheduled this guest on the show, and we had to reschedule again. So our prayers are out to our guests who couldn't make it tonight. Hopefully everything will work out for them and we can have them on at another time. But God always has a ram in the bush. Yes, he does. And it just gives me the opportunity to really get out and promote this fantastic, phenomenal upcoming book that's going to be gracing bookstores and the hands of many on June 22nd, called When Warriors Talk, God Listens. WWTGL. You see it going across the screen right now. We're going to have this phenomenal book launch with these 6 phenomenal authors, including the curator of this book, Lady Rochelle Dotson Matheny. She is the curator of this book. She is just a year transfused from being a first-time author herself. Yes, this time last year, this month last year, this phenomenal woman was gracing the stage as a first-time author in the book anthology You Are Unstoppable, Moving from Past to Purpose. And she didn't stop moving from that point on. And then you can see her right there on the flyer. The very first picture under Meet the Warriors is Lady Rochelle Matheny, who decided that she not only was going to be an author, but she was going to help other warriors in the battlefield be authors and tell their story as well. And so she decided back then that she said, Coach T, I'm ready to do this book. Let's make it happen. So she went out and she found some other warriors that are on the battlefield each and every day fighting against the little C. Yeah, we don't give it no authority here at the Unstoppable Story Show. Some people call it the big C. We call it the little C, cancer. It's a club that nobody wants to be a part of, but unfortunately it has far too many members. And for far too many of those members, they go in thinking it's a death sentence. But God has put these phenomenal warriors out there on the battlefield, being transparent and being able to tell their story of surviving, co-surviving, thriving, and being able to give back now so that others who are in the battle can also survive, co-survive, and thrive, as well as be preventive education and awareness about your situation and your status, so the little C doesn't get a chance to take root. These phenomenal women are going to be part of this book launch on June 22nd, and we want you to get your tickets right now so you will be in the place on June 22nd. And so we are going to be bringing a couple of the authors up onto the stage right now to share their story with you of why they are warriors and why they believe that when warriors talk, God absolutely listens. So without further ado, let's welcome to the stage the curator of the book, When Warriors Talk, God Listens, Lady Rochelle Matheny, and one of the authors in the book, her co-survivor, Leah Simone. Welcome, ladies.
Hi. Hello.
Hey. It is an unstoppable day. How you guys doing?
Great. Yeah, feeling really good. This is exciting.
Well, I am so glad that you guys are here. I'm definitely looking forward to chopping it up with you guys over the next couple of minutes as you share this phenomenal project that's going to be hitting the bookshelves in a little over a month. Isn't that exciting?
That's so exciting. Oh my goodness.
All right. So why don't you take a couple of seconds, and each one of you, you can introduce yourselves far better than I ever could. So why don't we start with the curator, the queen herself, Lady Rochelle. Introduce yourself.
I am Lady Rochelle Matheny, author and founder of Warriors Talk, where we move away from awareness towards action. We educate, we encourage, and we empower individuals into action for a healthier lifestyle before, during, and after a cancer diagnosis. I'm also a cancer survivor, 5 years out right now, and getting ready to launch this book. And I'm so excited. When Warriors Talk, God listens. Yes.
Go ahead, Leah. Introduce yourself.
All right. Hey, everybody. I'm Leah Simone. If you didn't know, Lady Rochelle is my mother, and she is definitely a queen. I'm excited to be here today, everybody. I'm an actress. I'm a vlogger. I'm an author now. I've always loved writing, but now I get to be a published author. I am dedicated to just creating original and real and inspiring and encouraging content. I'm all about encouraging others to enjoy every majestically original moment that God has given you in this life. So yeah, if you love that kind of content and vlogs and stuff, look me up on YouTube, Moments with Leah. That's my ministry. So I'm very excited. Yeah.
And can you tell she's got a good balance of the English language too? She just threw some words out there. I had to run to my dictionary real quick. What was that? What?
Thank you. Thank you.
Oh my goodness. So you guys, as you said, you guys are mother and daughter, and you have a phenomenal story of not only survivorship, but co-survivorship. And we're not going to give too much away about the book itself, but we are going to just give them a sneak peek so that they can really get an idea of why they should show up and go to the link that's scrolling across the screen right now. It's bit.ly/ When Warriors Talk. That's going to take you to the Eventbrite page, and that's where you can order your tickets to have your face in the place on June 22nd for the official book launch. But before we start talking about the book, here's a question that I ask everybody. Lady Rochelle, you know the question because I've asked you many times before. My Leah, this is the first time we get to hear you answer the question. But the name of the show is the Unstoppable Story Show. So, ladies, each one of you tell me, what does it mean to you when you hear the word unstoppable?
Okay. Well, I think to be unstoppable means to dedicate yourself to whatever it is that you want to do and to go hard after that. And I think that means obviously like not stopping, like being so dedicated, so resilient, and also knowing that you're not going to be able to do it with just by yourself. You have to go after it with God, and you have to do your best at whatever it is. And whatever that unstoppable thing is, that you have to use it to impact the lives of others. I think that, yeah, being unstoppable is bigger than you. Wow. Definitely bigger than you. I should have been first. Oh,
You can tag off that. Go ahead.
Wow, well, she really said it all. For me, being unstoppable is being persistent. Mm-hmm. It means just never giving up, no matter what is thrown your way. Take whatever that is and use it against that object or that obstacle that's in your way, and just keep plowing through until you get to your goal. Never giving up.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. And so we're talking about the little C. Yeah, again, the club that nobody wants to be a part of, but unfortunately, far too many end up being in it. And when we talk about being unstoppable, and when you talk about the little C, many times those two words don't go together. So, what made you, Lady Rochelle, decide to be the mouthpiece, the curator for a different way, a different conversation about dealing and battling and going through life with cancer?
Well, for this particular book anthology, it actually piggybacked off of the You Unstoppable because I talked about my encounter with God. And I believe that you cannot make it through this cancer journey without God, and that at some point during your journey, you're going to have a conversation with Him, just to have a sense of peace during your journey. And so often we hear the negative stuff all the time as it relates to cancer. So I wanted this book to not only give you the rawness of somebody's going through, but just to be able to see and hear the vulnerability in their stories, and how that even though the odds were stacked against them, that they pushed forward, and with God on their side, they were able to make it through.
Cool. So you have 5 authors in the book, and we're gonna put it back up on the screen so people can see. So tell us just the names of the other authors that are in this powerful anthology.
So we have, of course, Leah Simone, who is a co-survivor. The book is based on a tell-all collection of cancer journeys from survivors, co-survivors, and thrivers. So Leah tells you what it's like to be a co-survivor in her 2 chapters. You have Krista Carter Williams, who's also a co-survivor, that tells you about the loss of her mom, if I'm not giving away too much. And then you have Tracy, who is a survivor, and she tells you everything that you have to go through to get to, that survivor state. We have 2 thrivers, and thrivers are those who are still going through the cancer battle, but regardless of what they're facing, that they're still pushing through. So that is Carol Stewart, and then we have Shiana Gregory.
So let's talk a little bit more about those different classifications, because again, if you haven't gone through it, and if you haven't gone through it as someone who has the diagnosis, and you haven't gone through it as someone who has been a co-survivor, which we'll talk about a little bit more, either a family or a friend who have been intimately involved in the journey of a cancer patient, you really don't know these different terminologies. Well, of course, we hear about survivor. We hear that one. That's the most common one, the most I won't say the most popular one, but the most frequently used terminology. But you talk about a couple of other different classifications. So take a second and tell us about the different classifications of this journey with cancer.
Well, we have the previvor, and a previvor is someone who does not have cancer, but they have taken a test, which is known as the BRCA test, that lets you know if you are predisposed for cancer, if you have that hereditary gene. So what previvors do is they take action. They are proactive about their health, and some of them may get a hysterectomy. Some of them may get a mastectomy, so that it lessens their chances of getting cancer. So basically, a previvor is someone who is on top of their health, and they're taking action before cancer gets them. You know, they take the necessary measures to stop that diagnosis.
And
And
the
then
other
we have
classifications?
then we have the survivor. So we all know a survivor is someone, according to medical doctors, once you find your lump or once you are diagnosed, you are a survivor from that point on. So anyone who ever been diagnosed with cancer, from the point of diagnosis, they are considered survivors. Then you have thrivers, which are those who may be in the battle or who may have stage 4 cancer and they're actively in treatment. And even though they have the grim prognosis, that they're not letting it stop them from living their best life and sharing their journeys with others, educating others on the good and bad and the ugly about cancer. And then we have the conqueror, which is the one that I'm introducing. And the conqueror is the ultimate warrior. He or she is the ultimate survivor, thriver, and they actually set examples on for the others to follow. They have God in their life. They use God, as their starting point with prayer. They prepare, they fight, and then whatever it is, no matter what giant come their way, whether anybody can have giants in their life. It could be addiction, it could be fear, it could be any type of giant that comes in your way, but you don't let it stop you from conquering whatever giant is in your way. But you also have to let God in your life and remember that the battle is not yours, it's his. And part of being a conqueror, as my Leah mentioned, is to pull in your strength. So tapping into your inner strength that God gave you, that sometimes we don't find until we go through some type of traumatic situation. So those are
So,
basically it.
and those are all great definitions. We're talking to Lady Rochelle Matheny and Malia Simone, two of the authors and the curator of the book, When Warriors Talk, God Listens. Book launch coming up on June 22nd, and they're hanging out here with us on the Unstoppable Stories Show. Thank you guys for tuning in. So now, Rochelle, you talked about your story just a little over a year ago when you became a first-time author in the book You Are Unstoppable, Moving from Past to Purpose. You talked about being prepared for purpose, and you talked about a reason to live, and it was a powerful testimony of your story, of your journey. But now we get to hear somebody else who was part of the journey along with you. Someone intimately involved in the everyday journey of your life dealing with cancer, and a beautiful young lady in her own right, your daughter and our co-author in the book, Malia Simone. So Malia, I am really interested in hearing about your mom's journey through the eyes of her daughter and the classified co-survivor in the book. So why don't you start with, if you don't mind, the first time you learned about your mom's diagnosis, how did you feel? And then what started happening in your life?
So when my mom was first diagnosed with breast cancer, I was 16. And so for me at that time, it didn't feel completely real. I think, I don't know if you felt the same thing at first, like it just was a heavy weight. And yeah, it didn't feel completely real. And I don't want to talk too much about it because I do describe some of how I felt and how I
Absolutely.
processed the book. But I didn't feel like it was real. And I knew like immediately, like the day we found out, I started talking to God about it, and I wasn't happy with God at first. So my faith did play a big role in how I processed and how, like, from the beginning of me learning about my mom having breast cancer until like going through the whole journey, and then even after, the aftermath, I feel like my faith in God, like I really leaned on that heavily, and so that really helped me process everything going on with her diagnosis and just the whole journey of chemo appointments and everything, because it was a lot. It was heavy. And if I didn't have God, and if I didn't pray and talk to God and tell him how I felt, then I don't even know what my mental state would be.
So, Rochelle, how did you feel having to tell her for the first time? What did you think her reaction was gonna be? And were you surprised by her actual reaction?
Well, when I found out, I was actually in the bathroom at home.
Yeah.
Um, and the phone rang. I was talking to my mom, and my mom actually put the doctor on three-way. And the doctor told me, and my Leah was standing right there when I found out. So, um, I really didn't want to let her know, like, you always want your kids to see you as a strong person. So I didn't want her to really think that, this was a problem, because if I'm worried, then she's going to be worried. So I try to, at all times, hopefully, um, to not make her worry a lot. And my Leah is the type of person, she's a nurturer. So right away, she's going to go into, I would say mommy mode. And, and try to, do things like a mommy would do, because, her role kind of switched a little bit, because she had to help me with the girls, do a lot of stuff that, I probably wasn't able to do because I didn't have the strength. So just having her find out, I think if she hadn't have been there when I found out, I probably wouldn't have told her right away. I probably would have waited until maybe I got into treatment and figured out exactly what I wanted to do.
So it kind of happened in a way that it was unexpected to you as well, huh?
Yes.
Okay. So it looks like everybody had to deal with it almost at the same time. But now, Malia, you're the oldest child, or the oldest that was in the house at the time, correct?
Yes.
So how did it feel being the oldest person at the time to hear about this diagnosis? And how did your role now change as the oldest sibling in the house?
I think that, wow, I think God had a way of preparing me for that already, because I spent a lot of time babysitting watching my little sisters, my three little sisters. So yeah, I had spent a lot of time with them already, and so I knew how to take care of them, and I think I had to step up a lot more when my mom was diagnosed. It's not that she was absent or that she couldn't do a lot of things, but I just, as my mom said, I am kind of a nurturer, like, and I just stepped up, and I wanted her to rest, and I knew like she was going through a lot of stuff, and so I was doing a lot of just stepping up and making sure that whatever she needed help with them, that I was there to do it, or whenever she needed a break, that I was there to watch them. And so for me, I automatically was like, oh, we're gonna be fine. Like, I'm gonna help out more. Like, it wasn't really a question for me, and I've always been that way. I think I would even be that way if I wasn't the oldest at home, which is so funny to think about. I'd probably still be like, okay, what are we doing now? How can I help? And so yeah, it didn't change, as in like, it just, I helped out even more than I was before. So
Okay. So what give me some examples of some things that you found yourself doing more of right from that point.
I think, so I did watch my sisters a lot, as in like I babysat them a lot already before my mom was diagnosed with breast cancer. I think for me, I took on more roles, as in like I helped a lot. I started cooking a little bit more, not as much, but I think I started cooking a lot more than I was before. And so like just making sure, with meals and stuff, and then um, just making sure the girls were like, even when my mom was in the house, like, hey girls, let's watch a movie. If everybody just let mom rest, give her some more time to rest. Whereas before I may have been like, let them just kind of go in the room because they love to just sit on her bed. Even now, they'll just go in her room and just be all in her face for no reason. Like, and I know sometimes she would want to just be alone and just lay down.
Right. Yeah.
And so I'm like, hey girls, let's watch a movie. Let's do this. Let's do that. And so for me, it's just like making sure that they were preoccupied. And so nobody was just sitting around like, what's wrong with mommy? Let's go bother mommy. Like, what's going on? Because they were so young. And so I just tried to be more involved in, even at home, like activities with them.
So, Rochelle, how was that time for you? Seeing what did you see happen as far as not just Mylea, but all of your kids after they learned about the diagnosis? And then, how did you feel about the way Mylea stepped up, right, just like automatically?
Well, I didn't tell my girls, the little girls, right away because I had to have time to process what was going on before I can tell them and be able to answer all of the questions that I knew they were going to come with. So when they did find out, the way that they found out was I was so sick one day. And I was going to the car. I used all of my strength to get to the car, and I was getting ready to drop them off at school. But by the time I got to the car, I was exhausted. I couldn't even turn the key. And so my girlfriend gave me this book to give to my daughters to read to them, at the appropriate time when I was ready to tell them. So I was hiding the book until, the right time. Well, that morning was the right time. So I told my leader, I said, get the book, read it to them. I'm going back in the house. So I mustered up enough strength to get back in the house. I got in the bed. She stayed in the car, read the book to them. And once she read the book to them, they came running in the house, hugging me, kissing me. Mama, we're so sorry. We love you. What do you want us to do? What do you need us to do? And so for my leader to step up like that, for one, just being honest, I'm the type of person that I like to do stuff myself. Yeah. I like to get stuff done myself. If I ask you to do something and you're taking too long, I'm doing it already. So to come from a person who has always done things for herself, I'm not gonna say it was a shock to my ego, but it was a hard pill to swallow that as the mommy of the house, I'm now depending on my daughters to step in. But I'm grateful that they was there because our house still functioned the same way. Like we didn't miss anything. I was still taking the girls to tumbling. I was taking them to dance class. I didn't miss any days off work. So we still functioned as things as normal. I just had extra bonus, extra help. So I'm grateful that my Leah was there.
I'd love it. And I'm grateful that you were there too, Mylea. And that just brings me to let's turn that now into maybe a takeaway that you want to give to the audience, especially from you probably ran across it in your journey when you were going through your different treatments and when you were running into other people who were walking the journey along the same time. You weren't the only one who was used to being the take charge person and being the leader of the household. And now you had to depend on somebody else. What would you say to people who are going through this journey with the little C for the first time that have that same type of leadership mentality that you had?
I would say don't be afraid to ask for help. If you need to help, don't be afraid to ask for help, and don't be afraid to pull more than one person in. Like, don't just lean on the same person to do everything because you're gonna drain that person. But set up a schedule of different people who offer you help and give them little things to do. One may pick the kids up from school. Somebody else may drop meals off by the house. Somebody may come read to the kids. Just find ways for people to help you, and don't feel guilty because the only way that you're gonna heal properly is if you're getting rest. But if you are constantly trying to do everything yourself, then you're gonna find yourself, down. You're going to find yourself with no energy and end up, in a hospital trying to, recuperate. So the smart thing to do would be to ask for help. And then when people offer you help, don't be afraid to receive it. It doesn't make you less of a person, because you're getting help.
I love it. We're talking to Michelle Matheny and Leah Simone, two of the authors in the book When Warriors Talk, God Listens, due to launch next June. This June, coming up, June 22nd. Go over to the Eventbrite page, bit.ly/When Warriors Talks. Go ahead and register. We want you to be there for the official book launch. There's the information going across the screen. And we're just giving you just a sneak peek of some of the fabulous stuff that you're going to read when you get your copy of this phenomenal book. So, Leah, let's go back to you, because I think we're overlooking the fact that you are 16 in high school, really at the point in life where most teenagers start really finding themselves, or really start thinking about what they want to do with their own life. And then you're hit with this news that the leader of your household is facing something that could have potentially took her life. How did you find your life rearranged, or was it rearranged from what you were thinking about at that time in your life?
My life was definitely, in the book, I talk about it as like a being put or thrown off of a fast moving train. I believe is the analogy I use. And so my mom's diagnosis definitely changed just like my mindset at the time. I think I had a pretty good head on my shoulders anyways, for the most part. But it challenged me. Like, it challenged me to really, and I mentioned this in I think the first question, but like my faith, like it challenged me to develop a greater faith in God and to depend on God more. Yeah, it really did. Like, honestly, we even went back to church because of my mom's diagnosis. And that's crazy, but I'm so grateful that we did end up going back to church, because I've grown so much in my relationship with God, and God has shown me so much about myself that I think even at like 16, I just watched myself transform from like just like I don't know, from a typical, well, not really that typical. I was pretty unusual anyways for a 16, but just I watched myself transform from like what I felt, I guess, was just a kid to a young woman, to understanding things about life in a different way and realizing the value of life.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. So yeah, honestly, everything points to Jesus though. Like, honestly, seriously, the diagnosis for me, it really had me thinking more about God and faith, and that means everything.
So the diagnosis pointed to Jesus. Pull that out a little bit. Spread that out. What you trying to say? Take the mic and preach to us for a second.
I think, wow. Okay. So when I say my mom's diagnosis pointed me to Jesus, I was already saved at the time, but I don't think I took my faith as serious. Like, I really started talking to God about what my mom was going through. And then, of course, what I was going through, because as a co-survivor, I was dealing with a lot of the anxiety, a lot of things that she was going through, especially finding out at the same time as her. Like, there's so many things, just being so close with her while she was going through this. If it wasn't for, like, the diagnosis pointing to Jesus, like, it made me go to him more. It made me pray to him. It made me read my Bible more. So to me, like, there was nobody else to turn to but God. When I was mad, I turned to God. When I was like, okay, things are getting better. Look at my mom. Wow. I see improvement. I look to God and I celebrate it. So I think for me, it just made me turn to him in every capacity. And that's important. Like, when I was up, when I was down. So yeah, it was a terrible thing, but God can really birth amazing things out of disasters and sickness. So, amen. Can I get a hallelujah?
Yeah, yes. Yeah. we got the plate down in the green room waiting for you. So Rochelle, you had your own talk with God when you first got the diagnosis. So as you were having that conversation with God, what was that like? What were you saying to God at the time that you had the diagnosis? Not only about your diagnosis, but now the ones that you were caring for.
The first thing when I first got my diagnosis, the first thing that I asked God was to preserve me, to preserve the way that I look, to preserve my body, my organs, and everything, because of I knew what was ahead of me. And so it was important to me to keep my household functioning the same way, because I hadn't told my three little ones at the time. So it was a lot. It was a lot on me, but I would say that having that encounter with God actually opened my eyes, because you always hear, your mother and your grandmother, and you go to church and you hear all these people talking about them having this encounter with God and what it was like. And and it's like it's not real until you have your own encounter. And so I had several encounters with him, but the night that I had the encounter that let me know that I was going to be okay was I was having so much pain that I couldn't even. I think it was associated with the day that I was trying to drop them off at school. I didn't know that my blood was really low from the chemo, but it was so low that I kept wiping out. And so I finally went to the emergency room and they kept me, and I had to have a blood transfusion. But that the night before I went to the hospital, I was talking to God and I was crying out to him. And, because I'm like, Lord, is this it? Because I felt like I was getting ready to die. And so I started calling out to him, Lord, I need you. I'm reading my scriptures and I'm praying and everything. And so I'm listening to my inspirational music, and, God communicated to me through music. So as I'm crying out to him, I hear the presence of the Lord is here. And I'm just like, oh my goodness. And so I wiped my tears, and and the whole atmosphere of the room just changed. And I just started thanking him for just, being there and coming to see about me, and then telling him exactly what I needed from him. I needed him to heal me, I needed him to preserve me, and whatever was going on with me that night, I needed him to, make it right. And so the next song came on was Let Go and Let God. Like, you can't handle this by yourself. You trying to hold on, and it's not working for you. I need you to release it and let me do what I'm supposed to do. So I had to, that night, even though I was still in chemo treatment, even though I still had to have my surgery a couple of months later, even though I still had to go through 33 rounds of radiation, that night, God let me know that he had me. And it was like a weight, that heaviness was lifted off of me, because I had that encounter with him. And I said to myself, if he never visited me again, that night was enough for me to get me through a lifetime.
I love it. I love it. And it's just such a powerful message that you just gave there, that you had that talk with God, and then you learned how to let it go. And even in that moment of letting it go, you felt that release, and you felt that thing that came over you that could only come from having that conversation with God. It's fantastic, and I have loved reading all the words of each one of the authors in this book, and I see that, and I see the transformations that happen when warriors talk. But let me ask you this, Rochelle, since you're the curator of this book, what made you go from that conversation to let it go into being a warrior, not only in your own battle with the little C, but being a warrior for others that needed a leader on the battlefield in this journey of cancer? What made you come up with the whole idea of this warrior movement?
Well, the name warrior actually came from my Leah. My Leah started calling me her warrior. And so
What?
from
I didn't know that. Oh my God.
yeah,
Out of the mouth of babes.
yeah. So from that, I just took that, because that's what she called me. So I just took that and I started educating people about breast cancer, just on my own, just giving information out, passing out literature. And then it's like I said to myself, I have to do more, because we always say cancer is not a death sentence, but we perish for the lack of knowledge. So sometimes it's because we don't know. We think that, oh, Black women don't get breast cancer, or I'm too young to get breast cancer. So me educating people or just informing people of what's going on in the cancer world, period. Knowledge is power, but knowledge is also the antidote to fear. So when you get that knowledge, you have to take action with it. And that action is going to lead to you having a peace of mind. So for me, it was not only to get the information out to other people, get the information out to my daughters, because they're women and they're going to grow up and they're going to be doing their birth exams. So I want them to have a level of confidence knowing that if they did their own self-care and they do their own checks, that they could be on top of their health and not have to worry about a cancer diagnosis, taking their lives. I want to be able to make sure that everybody know that cancer, God is in charge of everything.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And he knows about everything. So there's nothing that you're going to face that he does not know. He already know if you're going to make it through that journey or not. Our job is to let go and let him do what he needs to do. We're just a vessel. So whatever we're going through, he's using it to grow you. Before my cancer diagnosis, there's so many things that I didn't do. Before my cancer diagnosis, I ended up hosting a radio show. I do my annual where I give funds to people who are in need financially. I was always considered shy, so I would never, be upfront speaking. This is not me. It's not.
Yeah,
But there's
right.
so many. There's so many things that came with this cancer journey. Me losing my dad to lung cancer, me losing my sister to breast cancer, me losing close friends, that had their journey before me and then passed on, that I met in my journey. For all of them who fought so hard, they're still warriors. And just to carry on their legacy, not to let their fight be in vain, but to try to save and educate and inform as many people as possible. That's what a warrior does. A warrior is not all about themselves. A warrior is about, bringing in as many people as they can to help save other people and help, to educate other people on, cancer is a little C. The big C is Christ. And only with him are we going to be able to win a battle.
Wow. Amen.
I heard
Wait. On this show, we don't let nuggets like that slide through. We gotta roll that back. Come on, say that again. Cancer is the little C.
Cancer is the little C. Christ is the big C. And it's only through him that we're going to win a battle.
Yes.
Somebody better recognize, somebody better listen, somebody better hear that who is watching this live or who is watching this in the replay, because that was a powerful stuff. That is a warrior statement. If you don't put that on a t-shirt or put that on a wristband, I'm gonna go do it and I'm gonna give it to you, because that's so important, especially for those who are starting the journey. When you get that first diagnosis, I can only imagine in my mind's eye. Thank God it hasn't happened to me, but thank God that you guys have come along to give me that education. Because when you get that diagnosis, it looks like it's in bold letters and it's on a plane and it's going across the sky and all you see is cancer, and it's cloudy and it's raining and it's dark and it's dreary, and in my mind that's all it appears to be. There's nothing glowing about that word. But you just reframed it and you just rephrased it and you just you took the power away from that big word, and you said, because when you look up in the sky and you look above the clouds, because the clouds are bringing down the rain, but above the clouds there's the sunlight, and the sunlight comes from Christ. And that's where the big C is, and he's looking over your cloudy days, and he knows that after your cloudy days there's going to be some sunny days, but you've got to stay in the fight. But that new person's probably saying, but Christ, but God, but Jesus, how can I stay in this fight? And he says, I sent you a warrior. Her name's Michelle. I sent you a warrior. Her name's Mylea. Because here's the thing, just because the age ain't nothing but a number when it comes to the little C. We know
Right.
there's an author in the book that is young in years, but she's had to go through the battle. So no matter how old you are or how young you are, you can still be in this journey, and you're going to need a warrior beside you, someone that you can talk to, someone that you can relate to, someone who can tell you about their journey and how they've overcome, so that they can see that if you did it, then maybe I can do it too. And I submit, I suggest, I think, Rochelle, that this is probably one of the bigger reasons why you wanted to put this book out there, to show somebody else that you've made it through, you've been healed, and that somebody else can do it too. Yes?
Absolutely. I think about this quote that Miles Monroe said, and I hope I get it right. You won't be remembered for the things that you avoided, but you will be remembered for the things that you survived. And so survive is the key word for me. So I just want people to know that, going through this cancer journey, that they're not alone. So many people think that they're alone. So many people choose to be alone because they don't want their family to know. But you're not alone going through this journey, and there are going to be ups and downs through the journey, but you can get through it. There are so many survivors out here, so many thrivers out here that's making it every day. We hear only the bad things about cancer. It's highlighted, such and such died, such and such died, but we very rarely hear about, oh, so and so survived, she got past her 5 years. We don't highlight the good stuff when it comes to cancer, because that doesn't make the news. Nobody wants to hear that. But as a warrior, we're here to spread the good news about cancer. And it's only because of Christ that we have survivors. And so we always have to put, Jesus at the forefront of our journey, because people always ask, what's the secret? What did you do? What did you do? Did you eat right? Did you exercise? What did you do to make it through your journey? I didn't do anything. I was just a vessel for God to use me. And I figured that, whatever my purpose was, that he wasn't done with me yet. So through my cancer journey, I found my purpose. And even though I had to go through chemo, the losing my hair, the losing my fingernails, skin turning dark, not being able to eat, getting down to 140 pounds, being fatigued and not being able to, just properly take care of my children. It got so bad, I was losing fingernails. I couldn't even braid their hair. I had to put gloves on to try to do something with their hair, because I was afraid that my nails would come off while I was doing their hair. But through all of that, God still preserved me. And he's restoring me even today to anything that the cancer journey thought that it was taken from me. God is doubling it back even more, so that other warriors who are just starting this journey can come to warriors like myself and the other warriors in the book, and know that they can make it. Cancer is not a death sentence.
In many books, whether it's the greatest book ever written, the Bible, or if it's fictional novels, or even in the big screen movies, whenever a warrior goes into battle, they rarely go into battle by themselves. And that warrior is only as strong as the team that is behind him or her, to hold her up and to be her foundation, be his foundation. Mylea, you are the foundation for your mom. You are the co-survivor. And you know many co-survivors. You probably have run across other co-survivors in your own journey. And trust me, on June 23rd, you're going to start running into even more. So what is your message to brothers, sisters, aunts, nieces, nephews, friends, acquaintances who are co-survivors in the journey with these warriors that are going through this tremendous battle? What would you say as a co-survivor to those who are about to walk the path that you've walked?
I would say something that I probably needed to hear at the time. I would say that you don't have to be so strong.
Wow.
I think as a co-survivor, looking back, and I do talk about this in the book as well, that I felt the need to be the encourager all the time, and it's fine. Like, I'm just an encouraging person. That's what I do. And I love that. And I love to step in and help people and be nurturing and all of that. But you don't have to carry it all on your shoulders, You don't have to, yes, please go beside that person, who's going through, who may be sick or going through cancer. Go beside them and do whatever you can. Do whatever you can to help them. Please do. But also know that you don't have to carry all that weight by yourself. And that's why I encourage faith in God. I definitely encourage faith in God. Because I started developing my faith in God at that time even more, I didn't have to carry all that weight by myself. And so, yeah, you don't have to be so strong, and you need Jesus because he's going to help you get through it when you feel like, I don't even know what else to do. How else can I help? And you know what? Also, I want to say that your presence is enough sometimes. Sometimes just being there, being available. I would just go sit with my mom at chemo appointments sometimes. And sometimes just being there, it's helpful. You don't always have to cook a meal or do this or do that. Sometimes just being there. So be there. You need Jesus, and you don't have to be too strong.
I love it. Those are great sage advice, and I love how you said your presence, because your presence is the gift that sometimes you don't need a whole lot when you're going through the journey. You just need to know that somebody is there with you, whether it's somebody that you can see with the natural eyes, or if it's somebody that you can see with the third eye and you can feel their presence in the room. So I thank you guys. I thank you ladies for stepping in and making your presence known here on the Unstoppable Story Show. I thank you for making your presence known in this phenomenal book that's about to hit the bookstores. But here's the final question. And the question is to each one of you. Why should anyone pick up a copy of the book When Warriors Talk, God Listens?
I would say even if you have not went through a cancer journey, we all know that every individual in this world have been touched by cancer in some way, shape, or form. And this book is not only about a cancer journey, but the book is about being a warrior, your own type of warrior. Which means anything that you go through in life, the things that the ladies talk about in the book, you can use it and you can apply it to whatever storm that you're going through, and know that you can make it. We talk about praying. We talk about, getting yourself together strategically when it comes to getting ready to fight. We talked about when a soldier goes to battle, when a warrior goes to battle, that warrior just don't show up, right? It's preparation behind the scenes before that warrior hits that battlefield. And so know that in life it's going to be the same thing. This book helps you to prepare yourself for storms that are coming. You see individuals like yourself who have been through these storms that should have took them out. But because they were persistent, because they had prayer, because they had Christ, and because they were determined, that they're here today. And some of us are carrying on the legacies for others who should have been here, but are not here. So I would say the reason to buy this book is if you want to have your own encounters with God and you don't know what that looks like, then you need to read this book, and maybe it will spark you to have those conversations on your own and get them started with God, and know that God is real. If you don't know anything else from this book, know that he is real and that he still heals. Amen.
Wow, I think she gave you a tough act to follow there, Malia, but come on, why should they buy the book?
Well, honestly, I think that so many people can benefit from When Warriors Talk, God Listens. So whoever you are, you should definitely pick up your own copy of this book so that you can be empowered by the stories of warriors. There's so many different kinds of warriors in this book. And you did mention this too, Lady Rochelle. You mentioned about how there's been so many people impacted by cancer, but also you don't necessarily have to have, you may not feel a close connection to cancer. Right. You may just, I've been through all this other stuff. Like, I feel like I'm a warrior because of this, because of that. And somebody mentioned that to me when I was telling them about the book, that warriors come in all shapes, forms, and fashions. You are so right. So you are a warrior, whoever you are. Everybody is a warrior. You've been through something in life. And I think that picking up this book, you will be amazed by seeing the different tactics, the different things and techniques that other warriors have used in battle. I think other warriors can learn from each other. And so you should pick up this book so that you can learn and so that you can grow. And also, I think that maybe you could pass it on to somebody else. You never know who in your life or who around you may be affected by cancer or a sickness or something, And I think that you will be able to pass this on to somebody who would really be encouraged by it. So wherever you are, definitely you are a warrior in some capacity. And you never know. You just never know who could use this. So
yes, and in the words of the late great Nipsey Hussle, he said that the highest form of the human act is to inspire.
Wow.
And so I know that this book definitely will inspire individuals who are before, during, or after a journey.
Yeah, any journey.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Honestly, yeah.
And not only is this book going to inspire, it's going to educate and it's going to inform. So those are going to be the triple effects: to educate, to inspire, and to inform. Because as Rochelle says on her Warriors Talk show, each and every week, we want to move you from awareness to action. Applied knowledge is power. Don't just take the knowledge and do nothing with it. We want you to move towards action, because that action is what turns that big C into that little C. The battle is not yours, it's the Lord's, and he gives you everything you need to fight this battle, including these wonderful authors and this wonderful book. And again, the book is going to be launching on June 22nd here in Chicago at the Infinity Banquet Hall, June 22nd, 12 o'clock. You got to have your face in the place for the When Warriors Talk God Listens book launch. On the screen is the link where you can go and register. They're not only going to feed your mind, but they're going to feed your belly too. So come on in. You got no reason not to have your face in the place. bit.ly/When Warriors Talk, bit.ly/When Warriors Talk. Ladies, thank you so much, my Leah Simone, and our curator of this book, Rochelle Matheny. We thank you guys. We appreciate you. We love you here at the Unstoppable Story Show, and we can't wait to get this book in our hands and get it out to the masses, because I know it's not just going to just change some lives. I firmly, wholeheartedly believe that somebody's life will be saved.
Yes.
That's my prayer. Any last thoughts before we let you guys go?
Well, follow me on Facebook at Lady Rochelle, or you can go to my Warriors Talk with Lady Rochelle page, like that page. Follow me on YouTube, Warriors Talk with Lady Rochelle.
Yeah. Wow. Okay, I have a lot of social media sites, y'all, so get ready. They're all the same. No. So it's just funny. I have the thought that I really have to go through it, and I'm like, oh no, I have to tell them all the things. But it's okay. If you want to see some majestically original content, please go ahead and subscribe to my YouTube channel, Moments with My Leah, on YouTube, and also look for me here on Facebook. So Moments with My Leah, go ahead and follow and like my page. You can also follow me on Instagram and Twitter at majesticallymsm. So I'm looking forward to connecting with you guys.
I am loving what these ladies are doing. And these are just two of the 6 authors that are going to be in the book When Warriors Talk God Listens. So you definitely have to have your face in the place. Go ahead to that link, bit.ly/When Warriors Talk. Thank you, ladies. We appreciate you, and we look forward to seeing you guys on June 22nd, okay?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, I'm gonna put you back in the green room, but don't hang up, okay?
Okay.
All right, the curator, Rochelle Matheny, and author, Leah Simone, 2 of the authors in the book, When Warriors Talk God Listens. Go ahead and register today, When Warriors Talk, at their Eventbrite page, bit.ly/When Warriors Talk. All right, you guys, that is a wrap. Thank you for tuning in, as always, to quality programming on the Unstoppable Story Show, where we talk to ordinary people with unstoppable stories. We'll see you next week. And as always, wherever you are in the world today, don't just make it a great day. Go out and be a warrior, change some lives, and make it an unstoppable day. Take care.